The bustle of boarding for Transglobal Airways Flight 712 to London was in full swing. In the relative calm of the business class cabin, Evelyn Hayes settled into seat 3A. Dressed in a simple, dark gray pantsuit that prioritized comfort over runway fashion, she could have been any mid-level executive, perhaps a lawyer, or an academic. She certainly didn't radiate the ostentatious wealth some of her fellow passengers displayed. Her carry-on was a well-worn leather satchel, from which she retrieved a slim, unbranded tablet. No one knew that as of 0800 that morning, Evelyn Hayes, through her private equity firm, had become the majority stakeholder, effectively, the new owner, of Transglobal Airways. This flight wasn't just a journey, it was an unannounced, first-hand assessment of the asset she'd just poured a significant portion of her fortune into. The tablet screen glowed faintly with the latest internal report on customer service complaints, a document she now had every right to peruse. Captain Rex Thorne, a man whose polished shoes and rigidly perfect uniform seemed to reflect his opinion of himself, strode through the business class cabin. He paused occasionally to offer a booming, overly chummy greeting to passengers he clearly deemed important, his smile wide but not quite reaching his eyes. He had a reputation among the cabin crew as a king of the cockpit, skilled, but with an ego that often made turbulence feel like the least of their worries. As he passed Evelyn's seat, a flight attendant, Sarah, was carefully helping Evelyn try to adjust a loose armrest that rattled with every slight movement of the plane during taxiing. "Is there a problem here, madam?" Captain Thorne's voice cut in, louder than necessary, drawing a few curious glances. Evelyn looked up. "Just a minor issue with the armrest, Captain. It seems quite loose. This attendant is kindly trying to see if it can be secured." Her tone was polite, neutral. Thorne glanced dismissively at the armrest, then at Evelyn, his eyes lingering for a moment on her simple attire. "Madam, this is a complex piece of machinery, not a luxury lounge. Minor rattles are to be expected. I suggest you find a way to tolerate it. We have a schedule to keep." Sarah, the flight attendant, flushed slightly. "Sir, it is quite loose. Perhaps maintenance overlooked it." "Maintenance doesn't overlook things on my aircraft, young lady," Thorne snapped, his gaze sharp enough to make Sarah visibly shrink. He turned back to Evelyn, a condescending smirk playing on his lips. "Some passengers, madam, have unrealistic expectations. If every minor inconvenience was grounds for a refit, we'd never leave the tarmac. Perhaps a pair of noise-canceling headphones would be more suited to your sensitivities." Other passengers were now overtly watching. Evelyn felt a slow burn of anger, not for herself, she'd dealt with far worse egos in far more critical negotiations, but for the airline she now owned. This was the face of its customer service? "Captain," Evelyn said, her voice remaining calm and even, "I believe a paying customer in business class has a reasonable expectation that their seat will be fully functional. It's a matter of service quality, not sensitivity." Thorne's smirk vanished, replaced by a look of haughty offense. "Are you questioning my judgment or the integrity of my aircraft, madam?" He puffed his chest out slightly. "I've been flying for 25 years. I think I know what's acceptable on board an airliner. Frankly, your attitude is becoming disruptive." "My attitude?" Evelyn echoed, an eyebrow arching almost imperceptibly. "I made a polite observation about faulty equipment. You, Captain, chose to escalate it into a public lecture." "That's enough," Thorne declared, his voice rising. "I won't have a passenger undermining my authority or causing a disturbance before we're even airborne. Consider this your only warning. Another word, and I'll have you removed from this flight. We have protocols for unruly passengers, and believe me, you don't want to experience them." He glared at her one last time, a look of triumph on his face, then turned on his heel and marched towards the cockpit, every line of his body radiating self-importance. Sarah, the flight attendant, leaned in quickly, her voice a low, mortified whisper. "Ms. Hayes, I am so terribly sorry. His behavior was unacceptable." Evelyn offered a small, reassuring smile. "It's quite all right, dear. You handled yourself professionally." He, on the other hand, she let the sentence hang. The captain's voice boomed over the intercom moments later, welcoming everyone aboard Flight 712 with his signature blend of forced bonhomie and underlying arrogance, making no mention of the earlier incident. Evelyn returned her attention to her tablet, but she wasn't reading the report anymore. Her fingers moved deftly across the screen, typing a short, encrypted message. The recipient was M.K. Marcus Thorne, her head of security and special operations, no relation to the captain, a fact she was sure Marcus would appreciate soon enough. The message was brief: FLT TGA 712 LHR. CPT Rex Thorne. Unprofessional conduct. Public humiliation packs, self. Secure all internal complaint/service records CPT Thorne. Arrange immediate access to his full personnel file. Have team meet aircraft LHR. He is to be grounded pending formal review. I will address him personally upon arrival. EH. She sent the message, then looked out the small oval window as the plane began its final pushback from the gate. The lights of the terminal slid by. Sarah approached again, offering a glass of champagne with an apologetic smile. "Thank you, Sarah," Evelyn said, accepting the glass. "Tell me, is Captain Thorne often this demonstrative with passengers?" Sarah hesitated, glancing nervously towards the cockpit. "He can be particular, ma'am. He expects things to run his way. Most of us just try to stay out of his path." "I see," Evelyn said, her expression thoughtful. "That's a rather challenging environment to foster good customer relations in, wouldn't you say?" Sarah could only nod, a worried look in her eyes. The aircraft taxied onto the runway. The engine spooled up with a powerful roar. Evelyn Hayes sipped her champagne, her demeanor serene. For Captain Rex Thorne, cruising at 35,000 feet, he was on top of the world. He had no idea that his career, as he knew it, was rapidly approaching its final descent, instigated by the quiet woman in seat 3A he had so casually and publicly dismissed. The storm clouds were gathering, and he was flying directly into them. The transatlantic flight progressed with practiced efficiency, a routine journey for most, but a stage for unfolding drama for a select few. Evelyn Hayes maintained an outward composure that belied the decisive actions she had set in motion. She politely declined further champagne, opting for water, and made occasional, discreet notes on her tablet. The file on Captain Rex Thorne, compiled with astonishing speed by MK's team and now securely on her device, painted a grim picture: a pilot with a history of passenger complaints and crew grievances, often dismissed or downplayed by a previous administration more concerned with pilot union appeasement than customer satisfaction. Captain Thorne, oblivious, made one more pass through the business class cabin mid-flight, a perfunctory, "everything all right, folks," tour. He even offered Evelyn a curt, almost challenging nod, as if daring her to find further fault. She met his gaze with a cool, unreadable expression and returned to her work. Sarah, the flight attendant, remained a model of professionalism, though she seemed to hover near Evelyn with a protective anxiety, refilling her water without being asked, offering an extra pillow. Evelyn appreciated the quiet kindness. As Flight 712 began its descent into London Heathrow, the familiar pre-landing announcements echoed through the cabin. Evelyn made one final, quiet request to Sarah. "When we land, could you please ask Captain Thorne to remain on the aircraft until he's cleared to disembark by ground officials? I understand there may be an urgent message for him." Sarah looked surprised but nodded. "Of course, Ms. Hayes. I'll pass that on to the purser to relay." The landing was smooth, a testament to Thorne's technical skill, if not his interpersonal ones. As the aircraft taxied to the gate, Evelyn powered down her tablet. She was ready. The jet bridge connected with a soft thud. The seatbelt sign pinged off. Passengers began to stir, eager to disembark. Evelyn remained seated, allowing others to pass. From the cockpit, Captain Thorne emerged, his cap at a jaunty angle, a self-satisfied air about him. He expected to be one of the first off, a privilege he often asserted. But as he approached the aircraft door, he found his exit blocked. Two men in dark suits, bearing Transglobal Airways executive IDs, stood just inside the jet bridge entrance. Beside them was a uniformed airport security officer. Captain Thorne, one of the executives, a stern-faced man named Alistair Finch, no relation to the Finch in a previous tale, but an equally flustered individual at this moment, addressed him. "Could we have a word, please? We need you to wait here." Thorne's jovial expression vanished. "Wait here? What's the meaning of this? I have post-flight duties, and then I'm off schedule. This is an official airline matter, Captain. It requires your immediate attention," the second executive stated, his tone firm. Evelyn Hayes chose that moment to rise gracefully from her seat and approach the doorway. Thorne saw her. His face contorted with renewed irritation. Her again? Is she the reason for this ridiculous delay? I warned her about causing disturbances. I want airport police to take her statement. She's been nothing but trouble this entire flight. Evelyn stepped forward into the jet bridge, standing beside the executives. The overhead lights cast stark shadows, the air suddenly charged. "Captain Thorne," she said, her voice calm, measured, yet carrying an unmistakable weight that cut through his bluster. "The only disturbance on this flight, I'm afraid, was initiated by you. And who in blazes do you think you are, madam, to make such an accusation?" Thorne demanded, his face flushing. The first executive, Finch, cleared his throat nervously. "Captain Thorne, allow me to introduce Ms. Evelyn Hayes." He paused, then delivered the crucial line. "Ms. Hayes is the new chairwoman and majority stakeholder of Transglobal Airways. As of this morning, she is this airline." The color drained from Rex Thorne's face. His arrogance imploded, leaving a gaping hole of disbelief, then dawning, sickening horror. His eyes darted from Evelyn's composed face to the grim expressions of the executives, then back to Evelyn. The dismissive remarks, the public humiliation, his condescending tone, it all flashed through his mind, now cast in a catastrophic new light. The woman he had belittled, questioned, and threatened was his new boss. The ultimate boss. "You," he stammered, his voice a choked whisper. "Seat 3A, the armrest, indeed, Captain," Evelyn replied, her voice devoid of triumph, holding only a chilling professionalism. The armrest was merely an indicator. Your response to it, however, was a far more significant system failure. She held up her tablet, its screen dark. "Thanks to modern technology, Captain, I have spent a portion of this flight reviewing your rather extensive personnel file. It seems your unique brand of customer interaction is not an isolated incident, merely one that has, until now, been insufficiently addressed." I can explain," Thorne managed, his bravado utterly shattered. "It was a stressful pre-flight. I may have been, curt is a generous term, Captain," Evelyn corrected. "What I experienced, and what other passengers were subjected to witnessing, was unprofessional conduct, abuse of authority, and a profound lack of judgment. You publicly humiliated a passenger, any passenger, let alone one with a vested interest in the company's reputation, and created an uncomfortable environment for your crew." Sarah and a few other crew members, who had been observing from the galley, exchanged wide-eyed glances. "Effective immediately, Captain Thorne," Evelyn stated, her words precise and final, "you are grounded. You will be escorted to a transglobal facility where you will be debriefed and formally interviewed as part of a comprehensive investigation into your conduct and service history. Your future with this airline is under considerable review." She paused. "You see, Captain, you spoke of unrealistic expectations. My expectation is that every employee of Transglobal Airways, especially those in leadership positions like a captain, treats passengers and fellow crew members with dignity and respect. That is not unrealistic. It is mandatory. Thorne looked like he might collapse. The two executives gently but firmly took his arms. "This way, Captain," Finch said, his voice now holding a note of grim duty. As he was led away, a broken man stripped of his authority and his arrogance, Evelyn turned to Sarah, who looked both stunned and vindicated. "Sarah," Evelyn said, a hint of warmth in her voice. "Your professionalism under difficult circumstances was exemplary." "Thank you." Thank you, Ms. Hayes," Sarah stammered. "This airline is about to undergo significant changes," Evelyn continued, her gaze sweeping over the remaining crew. "We will be an airline that values its employees, empowers them to provide outstanding service, and has zero tolerance for the kind of behavior Captain Thorne demonstrated today. Excellence will be rewarded. Mediocrity, and certainly arrogance, will not be tolerated." She gave a small nod, then turned and walked out of the jet bridge, leaving a stunned silence in her wake. The flight had ended, but for Transglobal Airways, under the new, watchful ownership of Evelyn Hayes, the real journey was just beginning. The risk had been identified, and neutralized.